Welcome to Starbound. If you're tired of AI-generated slop and want real human storytelling, subscribe to this channel. My name's Johnny. Let's begin. The falling star arrived just as Sam finished counting all 19 chickens for the third time that evening.
"Dad, there's another one,"
the 6-year-old announced, and pointed a sticky finger smudged with dessert at the darkening sky.
"But it's going the wrong way."
Caleb Rowan looked up from the porch railing he intended to fix for 3 months. The twin moons of Wesperus hung low and heavy, their familiar amber glow cast across the valley. But Sam was right. Something bright cut across the sky at an angle no meteor would choose. "That's not a—" Caleb began, then stopped. The object's trajectory shifted, lurched, and corrected itself with the desperate surge of damaged systems fighting for control. He knew that pattern. 20 years flying freighters through the outer lanes taught him to read a ship in distress like other men read weather. Owen slouched against the farmhouse door, all 15 years of teenage skepticism on display.
"Probably just orbital debris."
"Debris doesn't change course 3 times in 10 seconds, Caleb said quietly, his gaze tracking the object's descent. The light grew brighter, angrier. A trail of vermilion fire painted their faces in shades of emergency. Nora pressed against his side. Her 10-year-old mind raced through possibilities.
"Is someone crashing, Dad?"
The answer came as a sound. First a whisper, then a scream, then a roar that shook the windows and sent the chickens into hysterics. The fireball passed over the eastern ridge and disappeared behind the tree line. The valley went unnaturally still. Then, impact. A ground-shaking crump rattled Caleb's bones. A flicker of strange energy surged through the house. Every light bulb quivered, died, and sputtered back to life. "Inside," Caleb said, moving as he spoke. "Owen, watch your brother and sister."
"But Dad—"
"Now." He grabbed the heavy-duty medkit from the mudroom, hesitated, then took the old pulse rifle from its lockbox above the door. The weapon's weight felt wrong in his hands after so many years. But crashes this far out meant 2 things. Someone might need help, or someone might bring trouble. He would be ready for either. The farm transport started on the second try, its headlights cutting through the glittering pollen cloud that always rose after sunset. Caleb drove toward the smoke column, a black obelisk against the stars, and tried not to think about what he would find. In 20 years of flying, he had seen enough crash sites to know the bigger the impact, the smaller the chance of survivors. But someone fought to control that descent. Someone cared enough to try. The ship carved a trench through Caleb's best cornfield, a wound in the earth that stretched for nearly a quarter mile. At its end, half buried in Wesperus' rich soil, sat something that didn't belong. The vessel was wrong in every way that mattered. Too smooth, too dark, too perfect. Its hull was a patch of absolute nothing against the soil, a darkness that seemed to swallow the beams from his headlights. No visible engines, no sensor arrays, no registration marks, just an unbroken surface. Faint lines of pale light crawled across the hull, like circuits beneath skin, pulsing slowly as if mending a wound. The ship hurt to look at directly, as if his eyes kept sliding off its edges. In his time, Caleb saw many ships. Cargo haulers held together with prayer and industrial adhesive, sleek corporate shuttles that cost more than most colonies, military vessels bristling with weapons and paranoia. This transcended them all. He parked 50 meters away, grabbed the medkit and rifle, and approached on foot. The air crackled, carrying the sharp scent of superheated ceramic and something metallic that set his fillings on edge. A seam appeared where none had been before. A ramp descended with a whisper. The figure that emerged stood tall enough to duck through most doorways, moving with a careful deliberation that spoke of either injury or extreme caution. Female, humanoid, but decidedly not human. Her skin bore faint silver markings that traced paths like constellations across her visible flesh. Her clothing, a form-fitting suit of deep purple material that seemed to shift between fabric and armor, bore no insignia he recognized. She held a sidearm that made his pulse rifle look like a farming tool, which he supposed it essentially was these days.
"The situation is contained,"
she said in galactic standard, so perfect it sounded rehearsed.
"I require no assistance."
Caleb looked at the massive trench her ship had carved through his cornfield. He looked at the smoke still rising from superheated soil. He looked at her, standing there with the kind of rigid posture that usually meant military training, nobility, or someone desperate not to fall over. "Right," he said. "Looks like you've got everything under control." Her eyes, violet with pupils that contracted to vertical slits in the transport's headlights, narrowed slightly.
"Your sarcasm is noted, but unnecessary. I will compensate you for damages to your property and be gone by morning."
"With what shuttle? The one that's currently teaching my corn about aerodynamics?" She stopped, realizing she'd just claimed she needed no help while standing beside a ship that had fallen from the sky.
"The repairs are minimal."
"Sure they are." Caleb set down the medkit, his movements slow and non-threatening. "Look, I don't know who you are, and frankly, I don't care. That ship isn't going anywhere tonight, and the nearest settlement is 100 clicks of rough road away. You can stand here all night and pretend you don't need help, or you can accept some." She stared at him for a long moment, and he felt her evaluating him, like someone used to making decisions that affected more than cornfields.
Dad!
The shout made them both turn. Caleb's stomach dropped as he saw the farm's electric cart bouncing across the field. 3 familiar shapes visible in the dim light. "I told them to stay," he began, then sighed. The cart skidded to a stop, and his children spilled out. Sam immediately made a beeline for the ship's ramp. Nora's eyes went wide with a wonder typically reserved for birthday presents and unexpected snow days. Even Owen, who fought to look unimpressed, couldn't hide his curiosity.
Is she an alien?
Nora asked, not bothering to lower her voice.
Are you a space pirate?
Sam added and tried to climb the ramp. "Sam, get down from there," Caleb said, and moved to intercept his youngest before he could disappear into the ship. The woman, alien, whatever she was, stood frozen, her weapon still raised but forgotten. She looked from child to child with an expression Caleb recognized, the look of someone whose entire worldview had just been turned sideways.
"They're small,"
she said finally. "That's what children generally are, yes." Caleb pried Sam off the ramp and set him on the ground, where he immediately attached himself to the woman's leg instead. "Sam, we don't climb strangers."
She's tall,
Sam informed him, as if this explained everything. The woman looked down at the small human currently using her as a jungle gem, then back at Caleb with something approaching panic in those violet eyes. "They're always like this," Owen said, his arms crossed as he maintained his position by the cart. "You get used to it. Or you go insane. Either way." Owen's 15 and thinks cynicism is a personality, Caleb explained. Nora's 10 and wants to know everything about everything. Sam's 6 and believes personal space is a suggestion. I'm Caleb, and I promise they're usually more well-behaved than this.
We are?
Nora asked. "No," Owen said.
I found a beetle,
Sam announced. The woman holstered her weapon with the slow, careful movements of someone trying not to startle wildlife.
"I am..."
She paused and chose her words carefully.
"You may call me Sylvana."
That's a pretty name,
Nora said.
Are you a princess? You look like a princess.
Sylvana stammered, then looked at Caleb with an expression that clearly said, "Help." "All right, everyone back in the cart," Caleb said. "Let's get our guest settled, and you can interrogate her later."
But Dad...
Nora began. "Cart, now." They piled back in with varying degrees of reluctance, though Sam had to be physically removed from Sylvana's leg. Caleb gestured to her. "I've got a workshop with a cot. It's warm and dry. We can figure out the rest in the morning when we can actually see what we're doing." Sylvana looked back at her ship, then at the children already arguing in the cart, then at Caleb. Her perfect composure cracked just a little around the eyes.
"I accept your hospitality,"
she said formally.
"and I apologize for my initial rudeness."
"Don't worry about it. If I crashed in someone's field, I'd probably be a little testy too." They walked back to the vehicles, Caleb now between her and his children. He pretended not to notice how she favored her left side, or the slight tremor in her hands, or how she kept looking at his kids like they were some species she had only read about in textbooks. Sylvana sat at the kitchen table like visiting royalty, trying to pretend they enjoyed commoner food. Caleb decided the workshop was a foolish idea the moment Sam declared Sylvana his new best friend and refused to leave her side. A threat in the barn remained a threat. A threat Sam was attached to was just an awkward house guest. He served up reheated stew and fresh bread. Everything about her screamed highborn, from the way she held her spoon to how she managed to make sitting on a creaky wooden chair look regal. The children, however, remained thoroughly unimpressed by whatever station she might hold.
So, why'd you crash?
Nora asked around a mouthful of food. "Nora, we don't talk with our mouth full," Caleb reminded her. She swallowed.
So, why'd you crash?
Sylvana's mouth twitched.
Vesperus's atmospheric pollen interfered with my ship's systems. I ran in a low emission mode to remain undetected, which left my primary filters vulnerable.
The sparky dust?
Sam asked, his arms spread wide.
It's pretty.
Pretty and electromagnetically charged,
Sylvana said.
My ship's energy systems use high-frequency fields to process cosmic matter. The pollen was drawn in and caused a cascade failure.
Cool, Owen said, then caught himself and added, I mean, not cool that you crashed, just the science is whatever.
Can you fix it?
Nora asked.
In theory, the damage is primarily to the intake filters, hundreds of delicate filaments that need to be cleaned and recalibrated by hand. The ship's auto-repair systems can't handle something so precise.
Dad fixes things,
Sam announced.
He fixed the tractor and the water thing and Mr. Henderson's radio and...
That's different, buddy, Caleb said. I fix farm equipment, not... He gestured vaguely. Whatever classification of advanced tech your ship falls under.
The principles are often universal,
Sylvana said.
Low filtration, energy distribution. The scale and complexity change, but the core concepts remain similar.
See?
Sam said.
Dad can fix it.
Caleb was about to protest when he caught the look in Sylvana's eyes, a fragile flicker that resembled something close to acceptance, the look of someone who had carried something heavy for too long and had just been offered a place to set it down. We can take a look in the morning, he said, see what we're dealing with.
I would be...
She paused, as if the next word was physically difficult to say.
Grateful.
After dinner, while Caleb cleaned dishes and the children supposedly did homework, Sylvana stood by the window, her gaze fixed on her ship's silhouette against the stars.
Your wife?
She asked, her gaze on the photos on the wall. Late wife, Caleb corrected gently. Lena. 3 years now.
I apologize. I didn't mean to...
It's fine. The kids like talking about her. Helps keep her memory alive. Sylvana nodded slowly.
She was beautiful.
Brilliant, too. Astrobotanist. Came here to study the local flora. Said organisms here could revolutionize terraforming technology. He smiled at the memory. Of course, she also said that about pretty much every plant she found. The woman could get excited about algae.
Passion for one's work is admirable.
What about you? Caleb asked. What gets you excited, besides crashing into unsuspecting farm fields? The almost smile appeared again.
I serve my people, ensure their prosperity and safety.
That sounds like a job description, not a passion. She turned from the window to look at him directly.
Perhaps they are the same thing.
The words were clipped, final, closing a door he had tried to open. Before Caleb could respond, Sam padded into the kitchen in his pajamas, dragging a stuffed rabbit that had seen better decades.
Story?
He asked, "Buddy, it's late."
I could tell one.
Sylvana offered suddenly, then looked surprised at her own words. Sam's face lit up.
Really?
If that's acceptable.
She looked at Caleb. "Knock yourself out. Fair warning, though, he's a tough critic." Sam grabbed Sylvana's hand and pulled her toward the living room with the confidence of someone who had never met a stranger he couldn't befriend. Caleb followed, curious despite himself. Sylvana sat on the couch with the deliberate care of someone handling explosives. Sam immediately climbed up beside her, then onto her, then somehow ended up half in her lap, despite her obvious uncertainty about what to do about 30 pounds of sleepy child.
On my world,
She began, her voice assuming a storytelling cadence.
there are creatures called stellar whales.
Space whales?
Sam's eyes went wide.
In a way, they live in the upper atmosphere, feeding on solar radiation. They're vast, larger than this entire farm, and they sing to each other in frequencies that make the air waver like heat haze.
She continued the story, weaving a tale of a young whale separated from its pod, who had to find its way home by following the songs of its family across half a world. Her voice grew softer as Sam grew heavier against her side, and by the time the whale reunited with its pod, he was fast asleep. Sylvana looked down at him with an expression of wonder and confusion.
Is he... What do I do now?
"Congratulations," Owen said from the doorway where he had not so secretly listened. "You've been chosen as a pillow. That's a high honor in Sam's kingdom."
But I need to...
You're stuck there for at least an hour.
Nora added, appearing beside her brother.
Sam's like a cat. If he falls asleep on you, you're legally not allowed to move.
Caleb took pity on her obvious distress. "Here," he said, carefully lifting Sam. The boy mumbled something about whales and burrowed into his father's shoulder. "I'll put him to bed." When he returned, Sylvana was alone in the living room, studying the family photos with intense focus.
You have a good family.
She said without turning. "They have their moments."
I meant what I said earlier, about being grateful. I'm not...
She paused, choosing her words carefully.
accustomed to accepting help.
"Most people who crash in cornfields aren't." She turned to face him fully.
You're not curious about who I really am? Where I come from? Why my ship's advanced enough to make your military's best look like toys?
Caleb shrugged. "Figure you'll tell me if it becomes relevant. Until then, you're just someone who needs help. That's enough." She stared at him for a long moment.
You're either very trusting or very foolish.
"Probably both. Comes with the territory of raising 3 kids alone." He gestured toward the hallway. "Guest room's the second door on the right. Bathroom's across the hall. We're usually up around sunrise, but sleep in if you need to."
I don't require much sleep.
Famous last words around here. Sam's internal clock runs on chaos theory. That almost smile appeared again, and for a moment, she looked younger, less weighted down.
Thank you, Caleb Rowan,
she said formally. "Just Caleb will do. And you're welcome. Just Sylvana." She blinked, processed the joke, and then a small miracle. Actually smiled. It transformed her face, turning regal beauty into something warmer, more human, more real. Sylvana lay in the small guest room, staring at a ceiling painted with glow-in-the-dark stars that someone, probably Nora, had arranged in surprisingly accurate constellations. The bed was too soft, the room too warm. The house groaned with sounds, creaking floorboards, the sigh of settling timbers that defied the regulated hum of the climate control and air purifiers she knew. She could hear Caleb moving around, the soft tread of someone checking locks and turning off lights. Something in the walls creaked and settled. It should have been annoying, distracting, beneath her station. Instead, for the first time in 3 years, since her parents' shuttle had exploded in a shower of debris and political implications, Sylvana felt something unknot in her chest. Her rite of solitude was meant to be a journey of reflection, a chance to center herself before the endless decades of rule that stretched ahead. She planned to spend it in the nebula where her parents met. She had not planned on slipping her security escort a full day early and disabling her transponder. She wanted to truly be alone, not performatively alone. She thought about the Imperial Council, probably an apoplectic session by now. Admiral Theron would be mobilizing the fleet discreetly. Chancellor Kai would manage the media, fending off rumors. Their panic would be twofold. First, for her safety, and second, for the scandal if anyone learned she had intentionally broken protocol. But tonight, she was only Sylvana. The Empress could wait. Just a stranger who'd crashed in a cornfield and been offered soup by a kind man with sad eyes and 3 chaotic children. She thought about Sam's weight against her side, trusting and warm, about Nora's rapid-fire questions that reminded her of her own curious childhood, about Owen's defensive sarcasm that couldn't hide the pain underneath, about Caleb, who'd looked at her ship, clearly worth more than his entire planet, and offered help without calculation. Tomorrow, she would face the delicate work of repairing the Starlight. Tomorrow, the weight of empire would settle back on her shoulders. But tonight, she pulled the hand-sewn quilt up to her chin and let herself fall asleep to the sound of a real house full of real people living real lives. She slept better than she had in years. Morning arrived with Sam's face 3 inches from hers.
Breakfast!
He announced, then disappeared. Sylvana sat up, momentarily disoriented. She could smell something cooking. Eggs, she thought, and something else, sweet and unfamiliar. She dressed quickly in her suit, which had cleaned and repaired itself overnight. The sounds of the household drew her to the kitchen, where a storm of activity reigned. Shouted requests for syrup crisscrossed the sizzle of batter on the grill, but every person moved with purpose in a frantic, interlocking dance. Caleb stood at the stove, spatula in one hand, coffee mug in the other. Nora sat at the table, building something elaborate out of breakfast cereal. Owen slouched in his chair, poking at his tablet with one hand while eating with the other. Sam was somewhere under the table, if the giggling was any indication. "Morning," Caleb said without turning. "Coffee?"
Please.
He poured her a mug, black, and she took a grateful sip. It was stronger than what she was used to, bitter and real.
Pancakes?
Nora asked.
Dad makes the best pancakes.
She only says that because I'm the only one who makes pancakes, Caleb said, flipping one with a fluid flick of his wrist.
Still counts,
Nora said. Sylvana sat carefully. Sam emerged from under the table and climbed into the chair next to hers, dragging his stuffed rabbit.
This is Mr. Bunny,
he informed her solemnly.
He guards against nightmares.
An important job,
Sylvana agreed.
Do you have nightmares?
Sam,
that's personal,
Owen said.
Sometimes,
Sylvana answered anyway.
Everyone does.
Maybe you need Mr. Bunny,
Sam said, then considered the idea.
You can borrow him, but only for tonight.
The offer was so sincere that Sylvana found herself momentarily speechless. Before she could respond, Caleb set a plate in front of her. Pancakes topped with what looked like actual butter and some kind of syrup. Local maple, he explained. We tap the trees every spring. She took a bite and couldn't suppress a small sound of surprise. It was sweet and complex. Good? Caleb asked.
I've never tasted anything like it.
City folk, Owen muttered, but a smile hid in the word. After breakfast, Caleb led her back to the crash site. In daylight, the damage looked worse. The trench carved deep into the earth, its corn crop devastated for 30 meters on either side.
I'm sorry about this,
Sylvana said.
The compensation I mentioned.
Let's focus on getting you airborne again, Caleb interrupted. We can worry about the rest later. She led him into the starlight. He whistled low as they entered. This is... He trailed off, looking around the ship's interior.
Excessive?
She suggested. I was going to say beautiful. Flowing lines and subtle lights defined the starlight's interior. The walls displayed a star field that matched the view outside, creating the illusion of being surrounded by space even while grounded.
The engine room is this way,
she said, leading him deeper. The engine room formed a sphere within a sphere. At its center, contained within wavering fields, was a point of absolute nothing, a miniature black hole that powered the entire vessel. Fibrous structures like spun glass coated the inner surface of the room. The intake filters. Caleb stopped dead. That's a singularity.
A small one,
Sylvana said, as if that made it less terrifying.
Perfectly contained. The fields have multiple redundancies.
You're flying around with a black hole in your engine. He took a step back, his hand instinctively reaching for a sidearm he wasn't wearing. I've heard stories from outer rim haulers, ghost tales about singularity drives. Never thought they were real.
It generates more power from a single gram of matter than our sun will in 1,000 years. Clean, renewable, virtually inexhaustible.
It's a black hole in your ship that crashed in my cornfield. She had the grace to look slightly embarrassed.
The containment never failed, even during the crash.
Caleb took a deep breath, visibly pulling himself together. Okay. So what needs fixing? She brought up a holographic display showing the intake system.
These filters, you can see where they've fused.
The image zoomed in, showing delicate structures like frozen lightning, now melted and twisted.
Each one needs to be removed, cleaned, and recalibrated. 82 individual filaments are critical.
82, Caleb repeated, relieved the number was smaller than hundreds. And they all need to be done by hand.
The ship's repair systems can't handle something this delicate. It requires organic intuition, the ability to feel when the alignment is correct.
Caleb studied the display, then looked at the actual filters, keeping a wary distance from the central containment field. Show me how to remove one safely. She demonstrated. Her hands were steady, but a faint tremor betrayed her. The filament sparked and died.
My reflexes aren't suited for this,
she admitted.
My people have excellent vision and cognitive processing, but our fine motor control isn't as developed as humans.
But you knew that when you asked for my help.
I gambled.
Caleb took over, his hands steadier, more sure. It took time, but the next filament came free cleanly. That's one, he said. 81 to go. A rhythm formed over the next weeks. Sylvana would identify the damaged filaments and talk him through the removal process. Caleb would do the physical work, his hands learning the feel of alien technology through repetition and patience. The children, meanwhile, had adopted Sylvana. Nora discovered that Sylvana knew advanced mathematics and brought her increasingly complex problems to solve. Owen found someone who could actually challenge him at strategy games, and Sam decided Sylvana was his personal jungle gym and storyteller, a decision she seemed helplessly charmed by. You're good with them, Caleb said one afternoon, taking a break.
They're easier than adults,
Sylvana admitted.
They say what they mean.
That's one way to put it. Yesterday, Sam told Mrs. Henderson her pie tasted like feet.
Was he wrong?
No, but we still don't say it out loud. She smiled, a real smile that she allowed more often.
On my world, such honesty would be considered a virtue.
On this world, it gets you uninvited from potlucks. They worked in comfortable silence for a while before Sylvana spoke again.
May I ask about Lena?
Caleb's hands stilled for a moment. What about her?
How did you meet?
She came here on a research grant. 6 months to catalog the local flora. I ran freight then, and happened to be planetside when she needed someone to fly her to remote sites. He smiled at the memory. She talked about plants for 6 hours straight. Most people would have been bored senseless. But the way she described them, like each one was a miracle.
You fell in love with her passion.
With her, the passion formed only part of it. She saw wonder in everything. Made you see it, too. He carefully removed another filament. We got married a year later, had Owen almost immediately.
She sounds remarkable.
She was, and frustrating, and stubborn, and terrible at remembering to eat when she was focused on something. His voice grew softer. I loved her completely. Still do.
That must make things difficult.
Different. Love isn't a finite resource. The heart doesn't empty when someone leaves. He looked at her. But you already know that. Savannah's hands stilled.
What makes you say that?
The way you look sometimes, like you're seeing ghosts. She was quiet for so long, he thought she wouldn't answer. Then,
his name was Keon. We grew up together. He was...
She paused, searching for words.
Everything I couldn't be. Free, spontaneous, unbound by duty.
What happened?
Border conflict, a stupid, pointless skirmish over mining rights. He wasn't even supposed to be there.
Her voice remained steady, but her eyes were focused somewhere past the ship's walls.
They gave him a medal, posthumously, as if that somehow balanced the equation.
I'm sorry.
It was a long time ago.
Doesn't make it hurt less. She looked at him then. Really looked at him.
No, it doesn't.
That evening, crisis struck in the form of the farm's water system. Caleb heard the grinding noise first, a horrible metallic shriek that meant the moisture condenser was failing. He ran outside to find the machine shuddering.
Dad?
Nora had followed him.
Is it broken?
Working on it, he said, and pulled off the access panel. The hydrostatic bearing had seized.
Can you fix it?
Owen asked, as he appeared with Sam in tow. Maybe. I can try welding it, but...
What's the problem?
Savannah had joined them. Bearings failed. It's been limping along for months. Caleb gestured helplessly. Without it, we don't have water. No water means no crops. No crops means...
Show me the diagnostics,
Savannah said. It's just an old condenser. Nothing like your tech.
Physics is physics. Show me.
He pulled up the diagnostic panel on his tablet. Savannah studied it with intense focus.
There,
she said, pointing to a resonance pattern.
You have a resonance imbalance. The bearing suffers more than simple wear. A misalignment subjects it to uneven stress.
So
you don't need to replace the bearing. You need to redistribute the load.
She pointed to a bolt on the opposite side of the machine.
Tighten this by a quarter turn. No, 3/8. It will create a counter-resonance that should reseat the bearing.
That's... Caleb paused. That's insane.
It's the same principle I use for the Starlight's resonance dampeners. Trust me.
He looked at her, then at his children watching anxiously. 3/8 turn?
Precisely.
He made the adjustment. The grinding noise peaked, then suddenly stopped. The condenser hummed smoothly.
How did you... I told you, physics is physics.
But she was smiling, clearly pleased with herself.
You saved the farm,
Nora said, eyes wide.
You actually saved it.
I adjusted a bolt.
You saved the farm,
Sam agreed, and attached himself to her leg in what was becoming his signature move. She looked down at him, then at Caleb.
You would have figured it out.
Maybe, eventually, after losing half the crop. He met her eyes. Thank you. Consider this a first payment for the cornfield.
You're helping me repair my ship. It seemed only fair to reciprocate.
Is that what we're calling it? Reciprocation? She tilted her head.
What would you call it?
Friendship, maybe?
Friendship.
She tested the word.
Yes, I suppose that's accurate.
Sam tugged on her suit.
Friends have dinner together, and stories, and sometimes cookies.
Cookies are not dinner, Caleb said automatically.
Cookies could be dinner.
Sam argued. No. Silvana watched the familiar argument with something that looked dangerously close to fondness.
I would like to learn to make cookies,
she said quietly.
If you are willing to teach me.
He looked at her. This alien noble who commanded technology he couldn't dream of, and who was now asking to learn how to cook in his kitchen. Sure, he said. But if you burn down my house, you will explain it to the insurance company.
I've never burned down anything,
she said with dignity.
Yet,
Owen added helpfully.
I've never burned down anything yet,
she agreed. The weeks blurred together in a rhythm that felt both temporary and eternal. Morning started with breakfast and chaos, followed by hours in the ship. Afternoons meant helping with farm chores. Silvana learning to feed chickens, badly, milk cows, worse, and drive the tractor, surprisingly well. Evenings were for dinner, homework, stories, and the gradual dance of two lonely people remembering what it felt like not to be alone. The breakthrough came from disaster. They attempted to restore partial power when Caleb connected the wrong coupling. The surge of energy should have fried half the ship's systems. Instead, Silvana moved faster than he had ever seen her move, her hand slamming down on an emergency cutoff he hadn't even noticed. The lights flickered and died, but the ship remained intact. That was... he stammered.
Inadvisable,
she finished. I was going to say terrifying.
That too.
She breathed hard. He realized how close she stood, how she had moved to protect him rather than the ship.
You could have been hurt, she said.
So could you.
The ship is my responsibility.
And your... He stopped, not sure how to finish that sentence.
I'm what?
The emergency lights activated, bathing them both in soft blue light. She was close enough that he could see the silver markings on her skin pulse faintly with her heartbeat. Important, he said finally. You're important.
To the repairs?
Sure, to the repairs. They stood there for a moment, until a crash from somewhere else in the ship broke the spell.
Sam!
Owen's voice echoed.
You can't eat alien tech!
They found Sam licking an interface panel because it was glowy and probably tastes like candy. We don't lick alien technology, Caleb said, picking up his son.
But how else would we know what it tastes like?
We live with the mystery. Silvana watched them with an expression she got sometimes, like she memorized something precious. What? Caleb asked.
Nothing. Just, you're good at this, being a father.
I'm making it up as I go.
Isn't everyone?
The sentiment was so human, he almost forgot her origin. The night everything changed started with Owen asking the question no one else had dared to ask. They all sat around the fire pit, roasting marshmallows.
So, what are you really?
Owen asked suddenly.
Not who,
what?
Because you're not just some random alien who happened to crash here.
Owen, Caleb started.
No, Dad, come on. Her ship has a black hole engine. She knows math I haven't even heard of. She moves like a trained soldier.
Silvana set down her marshmallow.
You're very observant. I'm 15, not stupid.
I never said you were stupid.
So?
She looked at Caleb, who shrugged, her secret to tell or not.
I'm what you might call nobility,
she said carefully.
My family has responsibilities to our people.
Like a princess?
Nora asked, eyes wide.
Something like that?
A space princess,
Sam shouted, then paused.
What does that mean?
Someone who has to wear uncomfortable clothes and attend boring meetings,
Silvana said dryly.
That sounds terrible,
Sam said with genuine sympathy.
It has its moments.
Owen wasn't satisfied.
If you're nobility, Why are you alone? Where are your guards, your servants?
Sometimes, Sylvana said slowly, even princesses need to be just people to remember what that feels like.
Later, after the children had gone to bed, Caleb and Sylvana remained by the dying fire. "Princess, huh?" he said.
I neither confirmed nor denied that.
"You kinda did, though."
Perhaps.
"Should I be bowing or something?"
Please don't. Sam already tried to make me a crown out of chicken wire. I'm not sure my dignity could survive you bowing.
He laughed, and she smiled in response. "Can I ask you something?" he said.
You just did.
"Now you sound like Nora."
I learned from the best. What's your question?
"Are you happy here?" She was quiet for a long moment.
I didn't know I was unhappy until I came here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
What about you? Are you happy?
I wasn't unhappy. I had the kids, the farm, Lena's memory. It was enough.
Was?
He looked at her. "Things change,"
Yes,
she said softly.
they often do.
The next morning brought a test of the communication system.
If this works,
Sylvana said.
we can send a signal.
"Your people must be worried," Caleb said.
They're probably managing.
But tension tightened her shoulders. The systems hummed to life. Static filled the air. Then, fragments of transmission broke through. "Search continues for Imperial vessel Starlight. Concerns for the Empress's welfare. Unprecedented disappearance during the traditional rite of solitude." The transmission cut to static, then died completely. The array sparked and went dark. The ensuing silence was heavy. "Empress," Caleb stated.
I can explain.
"You're an empress.
Yes.
An actual, ruling an empire empress.
Yes.
And you've been sleeping in my guest room and letting Sam use you as a climbing frame?"
Also yes.
He ran a hand through his hair. "I should probably be a little angry about the lying,
You should.
but I'm mostly just confused about why an empress would pretend to be anything else." She turned to face him fully.
Because the moment people know what I am, I stop being a person and become a symbol, a responsibility. You're the first person in years to just help me, without calculation, without agenda, because I needed help.
"That's what people do,"
No,
she said firmly.
it's what you do, what your family does, but not what most people do. Not for me.
"So, what now? Your people are looking for you."
The beacon's still damaged. They won't find me immediately.
She paused.
I should leave. The longer I stay, the more danger I put you in.
"Danger from what?"
From being associated with me. From harboring a foreign ruler. From...
"Sylvana." He waited until she looked at him. "Do you want to leave?"
I have responsibilities.
"That's not what I asked." She closed her eyes.
No. No, I don't want to leave.
"Then don't."
It's not that simple.
"Sure it is. You need time to repair your ship properly. We need help with the harvest. Seems like a fair trade."
You know that's not really why you're asking me to stay.
"No," he admitted. "It's not."
Then why?
"Because you fit. I don't know how else to explain it. You just fit with us, with this life, with..." He stopped.
With you?
She suggested softly. "I was going to say with the chaos, but yeah, that too." She laughed, actually laughed.
You're impossible.
"I'm practical. There's a difference."
The kids think you hung the moons.
Only because I told them I did. They were very young. They believed me. She shook her head, still smiling.
How can you be so casual about this? I'm an empress. I rule 19 systems.
And you can't cook eggs without burning them.
That was one time.
3 times.
The second time was intentional. I was testing heat coefficients.
Sure you were. She fixed him with those violet eyes.
This can't last. Eventually they'll find me. I'll have to go back.
I know.
And you're okay with that?
I'm okay with having whatever time we have. However long that is.
That's very zen of you.
That's very farmer of me. We learn to appreciate seasons, even when we know they'll end. That afternoon, Caleb found Owen in the barn, aggressively cleaning tools. Want to talk about it? Caleb asked.
About what?
About whatever you're taking out on that poor wrench. Owen set the tool down.
She's leaving, isn't she? The princess?
Eventually.
And you're just fine with that?
What would you prefer?
I'd prefer,
Owen said, his voice cracking slightly.
that people stop leaving.
And there it was. Caleb sat on a hay bale, patting the spot next to him. After a moment, Owen joined him.
She's not Mom,
Owen said. No, she's not.
but you like her.
I do.
More than like her.
Maybe.
Mom's only been gone 3 years.
And I've grieved every day of those 3 years. I'll grieve every day for the rest of my life. Caleb looked at his son. But that doesn't mean I stop living.
It feels like replacing her.
No one could replace your mother. Not in my heart, not in yours. Savannah isn't trying to.
Then what is she doing?
Honestly, I think she works to figure out how to be a person. And we work to figure out how to be a family that isn't broken anymore.
We're not broken,
Owen said defensively.
aren't we?
Just a little. Owen was quiet.
She makes Sam laugh. Like, really laugh. He hasn't done that since.
I know.
And Nora's excited about learning again.
She is.
And you...
Owen paused.
You hum again when you're working. You used to hum with Mom.
Caleb hadn't realized that.
I don't want to like her.
Owen admitted. Why not?
Because when she leaves, it'll hurt.
Yeah, Caleb said. It will.
So why risk it?
Because the alternative is never caring about anyone new ever again. And that's not living, buddy. It's just existing. Owen leaned against his father's shoulder.
It's scary.
Terrifying, Caleb agreed.
But you're doing it anyway?
We're doing it anyway.
We?
You think I could do any of this without you three? You're my courage, kid. All of you. They sat in silence until Sam burst in, covered in flour.
Savannah's teaching me to make space cookies,
He announced. Is she now? Caleb asked.
They exploded a little bit.
Definitely a little bit.
The kitchen's fine. Mostly.
Caleb sighed and stood. Come on, he said to Owen. Let's go see what chaos looks like. The kitchen remained, in fact, mostly fine. Flour dusted every surface, and something purple dripped from the ceiling, but Savannah and Nora were laughing so hard they could barely stand.
I may have,
Savannah gasped between laughs.
miscalculated the reaction between your baking soda and Alterian spice.
It's purple!
Sam shouted, delighted.
Everything's purple,
Owen observed.
It'll wash off,
Savannah said, then paused.
probably.
Caleb looked at his purple-spattered children, his flour-covered kitchen, and the Empress of 19 systems holding a mixing bowl like it might explode again. You know what? He said. Purple's a good color for us. The ship stood nearly repaired. Caleb cleaned the final filaments. The communication system just needed a new power coupling. The beacon could be activated at any time. The knowledge settled over them, a heavy, unspoken weight.
We should celebrate,
Nora announced at dinner. Celebrate what? Caleb asked.
fixing the ship.
An accomplishment that means Savannah leaves,
Owen pointed out.
So we celebrate the time we had, Nora said firmly. Right, Silvana?
Silvana looked around the table.
On my world, we have a tradition. When something ends, we honor it with a feast. Not a sad goodbye, but a grateful celebration of what was.
I like that,
Sam said.
Can there be a cake?
There can always be a cake, Caleb said. So they planned a party. Caleb would cook, the kids would decorate, Silvana would attempt a simple salad. The night of the celebration felt perfect. They ate outside under the stars, the repaired starlight silent in the field beyond.
Tell the story again,
Sam requested.
about the star whales.
So Silvana told the story, adding new details. How the young whale learned that being alone made him stronger, but being with family made him complete. How the pod's song was about choosing to return to each other again and again.
That's different from last time,
Nora observed.
Stories change,
Silvana said.
They grow with the teller.
After the children were asleep, Caleb and Silvana stood in the field between the house and her ship.
I don't want to go,
She said. I don't want you to go.
but I have to.
I know.
My people need me. The reforms I initiated. If I disappear, it all falls apart.
I know.
Stop saying that.
Okay. She turned to face him.
Come with me.
What?
You and the children. Come with me. I could give you a life beyond your dreams.
Caleb was quiet for a long moment. That's not our life.
It could be.
No, it couldn't. We'd be decorations in your world. The Empress's strange human family. He touched her face gently. We belong here. This is our home.
And I belong there?
You belong wherever you choose to belong. But your choices affect millions of people.
I hate being responsible.
No, you don't. You hate that responsibility means sacrifice. She leaned into his touch.
When did you become so wise?
Sometime between fixing 81 filaments and watching you fail at cooking eggs. She laughed, but tears edged her voice.
I'll have to go soon. Tomorrow, maybe the day after.
I know. He kissed her, and she returned it. For a moment, the universe narrowed to just this. Two people choosing each other despite the finality of it all. When they pulled apart, she cried.
This isn't fair.
No, he agreed. It's not.
I love you,
She said.
It's illogical and impractical and absolutely insane, but I do.
I love you too. I have since you stood in my cornfield claiming you didn't need help while your ship smoked in the background.
That's ridiculous.
That's farming. We're good at seeing potential in unlikely soil. She laughed and cried at the same time.
What do we do?
We take tonight, and tomorrow, and whatever time we have.
And then?
And then we live with the memory, added to all the others that make us who we are.
I don't want to be a memory.
Neither did Lena. Neither did Kian. But they are, and we carry them, and we're better for having loved them.
You make it sound so simple.
Simple's not the same as easy. They stood there, holding each other, while the stars wheeled overhead. The beacon activated at dawn. Silvana hadn't meant to. She ran final diagnostics, and her hand moved to the control out of habit. How long? Caleb asked. He had known the moment it happened.
Hours? Maybe a day?
Okay.
Okay, that's it?
Would panicking help?
It might make me feel better.
Come here. He pulled her into his arms. We knew this would come.
I wanted more time.
So did I. But we got what we got, and it was good.
It was perfect,
She corrected. The children took the news with varying levels of grace. Sam cried. Nora made her promise to write. Owen pretended not to care, then hugged her so tight she could barely breathe. 3 sleek vessels landed with flawless coordination in the ruined cornfield. A delegation emerged, led by an older Alterian in military dress. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing deep, "we are relieved to find you safe."
Admiral Theron,
Sylvana acknowledged, and suddenly she was every inch the Empress.
I trust the situation has been managed.
"As you instructed, Majesty. The Council has maintained order, though your return is urgently needed." The Admiral's eyes flicked to the Rowan family on the porch. "Should we—"
They are under my protection, Sylvana said sharply. They saved my life. Treat them with the highest respect.
"Of course, Majesty." She turned to them, and the Empress facade cracked. Sam broke free and ran to her, throwing his arms around her legs.
Don't go!
I have to, little one.
But who will tell me stories?
Your father tells wonderful stories.
Not about Star Wheels.
She knelt down.
Then I'll send you new stories about luminous forests and singing mountains and the dragons that live in nebulas.
He nodded, tears streaming down his face. She hugged each one of them. Nora, brave. Owen, his guard fully down. And Caleb.
Thank you,
she said simply. For what?
For showing me how to be human, even though I'm not.
You're close enough. She kissed him, not caring that her delegation watched.
I'll find a way, she whispered. I don't know how, but I'll find a way.
I know. The ships lifted off, leaving only flattened corn and the lingering smell of superheated air. The Rowan family stood on their porch, watching the lights disappear.
Will she come back?
Sam asked. Maybe, Caleb said.
You think so?
I think she's stubborn enough to reorganize an entire empire if it means getting what she wants.
What does she want?
Nora asked. Caleb looked at his children, at his farm. The same thing we all want, he said. A place to call home. Caleb fixed the porch railing 3 months later when he heard it. The controlled hum of a ship landing carefully in the field he had cleared. He didn't run, but he walked very quickly. The starlight sat in the field, its ramp lowering. Sylvana emerged, but not alone. A small delegation followed. She dressed simply, in clothes that would work on a farm, but she still moved like an empress.
Hi,
she said when she reached him. Hi yourself.
I found a way.
I can see that.
It took some doing. A constitutional amendment I'd pushed through before I left enabled it. It was designed to decentralize command, but it serves this purpose too.
And?
6 months here, 6 months there. Council governs in my absence, but I review everything. Modern technology means I can rule from anywhere.
She paused.
This is a first step, a proof of concept. If it works, we can talk about a more permanent future. But is this acceptable?
If you're asking if I'm okay with you spending half your time here?
I'm asking if you're okay with a lot of things. Media attention, security details. Your life would change.
Our lives already changed. The moment you crashed into that field.
Is that a yes?
That's a Sam's probably already seen your ship and is heading this way at full speed. Sure enough, a small figure raced across the field and screamed,
Sylvana!
At the top of his lungs. She braced for impact, catching him as he launched himself at her.
Hello, little one.
You came back!
I said I'd find a way.
Dad said you were stubborn enough to reorganize an entire empire.
Your father knows me well.
Nora and Owen arrived. Nora immediately began interrogating the advisors about faster-than-light travel, while Owen tried to look casual and failed. So, Owen said to Sylvana, you're back?
For 6 months, then gone for 6 months, then back again.
That's complicated.
Yes,
But doable?
I'm here, aren't I?
He considered this, then nodded. Cool. From him, the word served as a declaration of love. That evening, after the advisors settled in the town's only inn, the family sat around their kitchen table.
So, you're gonna be our mom?
Sam asked with his usual directness. Sam? Owen hissed.
What? She's back. She and Dad kiss sometimes. That means mom, right?
Silvana looked at Caleb, who shrugged. Your circus, your monkeys.
That's not helpful.
She turned to Sam.
I'd like to be part of your family, if you'll have me. But you already had a mom. A wonderful one. I'm not trying to replace her.
So, you'd be like a bonus mom,
Nora suggested.
and a space princess, even though you're an empress?
Princess is a cooler title, Owen muttered.
I can be a bonus mom.
Silvana agreed, a smile playing on her lips.
And you can call me whatever you like. Princess is fine.
Deal.
Sam said.
Can you tell me a star whale story?
Every night if you want.
The matter settled. Their new life was imperfect and complicated, but real. Later, as they stood on the porch watching the stars, Silvana leaned against Caleb's shoulder.
This is insane,
she said. Completely.
It'll be hard.
Probably.
The media will have a field day. Empress chooses farm over palace.
Let 'em.
You're not worried?
I'm terrified, but I'm also happy. Happier than I've been in years. She took his hand.
Me too.
Above them, the stars wheeled on, indifferent to human and alien plans alike. But on this small farm, on this insignificant planet, two people who thought their best days were behind them stood together and chose to believe in tomorrow.